The boardroom went silent when the numbers hit the screen. Not the polite, professional silence executives practiced, but the kind that tightened chests and made palms sweat. A red figure glowed at the bottom of the slide, $100, 000 projected loss. People shifted in their leather chairs. Someone coughed. Someone else whispered a prayer they didn't believe would be answered. At the far end of the room, unseen and unnoticed, a man holding a mop paused in the doorway and stared at the screen, his brow slowly furrowing. That man was Michael Carter, a janitor who worked the night shift at Alderidge Technologies, one of the fastest-growing tech companies in the country. To most employees, Michael was invisible. He was the guy who emptied trash cans, wiped fingerprints off glass walls, and quietly apologized if his cart got in the way. To the world outside the building, he was a single father struggling to raise his 8-year-old daughter, Grace, on a janitor's paycheck after his wife passed away 3 years earlier. Inside the boardroom, CEO Jonathan Reed rubbed his temples. The product launch they had spent 2 years preparing for was collapsing. A critical system failure, something buried deep in the architecture, had made the flagship platform unstable. Investors were panicking. Lawyers were already circling. Engineers had been locked in war rooms for 48 hours straight, surviving on caffeine and fear, and still no solution. "We've tried everything," said Daniel Moore, the lead engineer, his voice hoarse. "Every patch creates another vulnerability. If this goes public, we're finished." Jonathan exhaled slowly. "Give me one more idea, anything." No one spoke. In the doorway, Michael stared harder at the screen. He had seen that structure before. Not here, not exactly, but close enough to make his heart beat faster. Years ago, before life took a sharp and painful turn, Michael had been a systems architect. He had helped design financial platforms for banks, solving problems most people didn't even know existed. Then his wife, Emily, got sick. Hospital bills piled up. He left his career to care for her. When she died, grief hollowed him out. He needed flexible hours to raise Grace, so he took the janitor job and never corrected anyone's assumptions about him. Michael looked down at his mop, then back at the screen. He hesitated. Speaking up felt dangerous. People like him weren't supposed to interrupt meetings like this. People like him were supposed to stay invisible. But then he thought of Grace, doing her homework alone at the kitchen table, trusting her dad to always find a way. He cleared his throat. The sound was small, but in the silence it landed like a dropped glass. Jonathan turned, surprised. "Yes." Michael swallowed. "I'm sorry, sir, I didn't mean to interrupt, but that problem on the screen, it's not the interface, it's the data sync loop." A few executives frowned. Daniel let out a tired laugh. "With respect, we've been working on this for days." Michael nodded. "I know, but you're fixing the symptom, not the cause. You've got a recursive handshake happening between servers 3 and 7. It's duplicating requests under load. That's why every fix breaks something else." The room froze. Daniel stared at him. That's not in the documentation." "It wouldn't be," Michael said quietly. "It's buried in the legacy layer. I've seen it before." Jonathan stood up slowly. "Who are you?" "Michael Carter. I clean the floors night shift." A few people exchanged looks, uncertain whether this was some kind of joke. Jonathan studied Michael's face, then glanced at the slide again. "If you're right," he said carefully, "how do we fix it?" Michael stepped closer to the screen, pointing. "You isolate the handshake and convert it to a one-way verification. It takes about 30 seconds." Daniel shook his head. "That would require rewriting." "No," Michael interrupted gently. "You already have the code. You just commented it out 2 years ago because it slowed the system by 0.5%. The engineer's eyes widened. Jonathan looked at Daniel. "Is that true?" Daniel swallowed. "Yes, but we never thought." Jonathan turned back to Michael. "Can you show us?" Michael hesitated. "I don't have access." Jonathan didn't hesitate. "Get him a terminal." There was a scramble. A laptop was pushed across the table. Michael set his mop aside and sat down. His hands, rough from years of cleaning chemicals, hovered over the keyboard for a brief second. Then they moved with calm precision. 30 seconds passed. The screen refreshed. The red number disappeared. Graph stabilized. Error logs flattened. Someone gasped. Daniel leaned forward, eyes wide. It's holding. The room erupted in noise, shouts, disbelief, laughter mixed with shock. Jonathan raised his hand for silence. He stared at Michael, who was quietly closing the laptop. "You just saved this company," Jonathan said. "You know that, right?" Michael shrugged. "I just fixed a problem." Jonathan took a breath, then did something no one expected. He walked around the table and held out his hand. "Come with me." They stepped out of the boardroom into the open office, where hundreds of employees worked. Jonathan climbed onto a chair. "Everyone," he called out, "I need your attention." Conversations died mid-sentence. "This man," Jonathan said, placing a hand on Michael's shoulder, "is Michael Carter, our janitor. And today he solved a problem that could have cost this company $100 million. A stunned silence spread across the floor. Jonathan continued, "Effective immediately, Michael is our new chief systems consultant." Gasps rippled through the room. And Jonathan added, "His salary will reflect the value he just proved." Michael's eyes filled with tears. "Sir, Jonathan smiled. "Go home early today, spend time with your daughter. Tomorrow we start fresh." That night Michael picked Grace up from school himself for the first time in months. She looked surprised. "Daddy, you're early." He knelt down and hugged her tight. "Yeah, sweetheart, things are going to be okay." Months later, Michael still walked the halls of Alderidge, but now people looked him in the eye. They listened when he spoke, and Michael never forgot where he came from. He made a point of knowing everyone's name, especially the janitors. The company thrived, but the story that lived on wasn't about technology or money. It was about a single dad who refused to let his past define his future, about dignity and honest work, and about the truth that talent doesn't wear a uniform. Sometimes, the person holding the mop is the smartest one in the room, and all it takes is one moment of courage to change everything.